You just got an email from a recruiter. The role looks interesting. The company is one you've actually heard of. The compensation range, if they're even honest about it, looks solid. You think, okay, this could be something. And then you read the rest. There's a phone screen with the recruiter, then a technical phone screen with an engineer, then a take-home assignment they estimate at 4 to 6 hours. But we both know it's going to be 10. Then an on-site. Except the on-site is actually 5 back-to-back sessions spread across an entire day. One of which is a system design round, one is a behavioral round, and one is a culture fit conversation with someone whose title you don't even recognize. Oh, and before any of this happens, they want you to fly out to their headquarters on a Tuesday, which means you're burning PTO from your current job, the job that's actually paying your bills right now, to audition for a company that hasn't even told you what the real offer would look like. 6 rounds. Possibly 7 if you count the homework. A flight. 2 weeks of your mental energy. And at the end of all that, you might get a rejection email that says, "We've decided to move forward with other candidates at this time. We'll keep your resume on file." No feedback, no explanation. Just silence and a form letter. This is the state of technical hiring, and it has been broken for a long time. But here's what I actually want to talk about today. I don't want to just complain about the process because you already know it's absurd. What I want to talk about is you. Specifically, why you keep saying yes to this. Why you keep entering processes that disrespect your time, drain your energy, and treat you like you should be grateful for the opportunity to be evaluated. And I want to give you a framework, a Stoic framework, for knowing your worth and having the clarity to walk away, when walking away is the right move. There's a line from Seneca that I come back to constantly. He said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." He wasn't talking about interview loops, obviously, but the principle is surgical in its precision. Your time is the most non-renewable resource you have. Every hour you spend on a take-home project for a company that ghosts 30% of its candidates is an hour you did not spend with your family, on your own projects, on rest, on the things that actually sustain you. And here's what Stoic philosophy asks you to do with that awareness. It asks you to act on it. Not just acknowledge it. Not just nod and say, "Yeah, my time is valuable," while simultaneously blocking out another 12 hours for a coding gauntlet. It asks you to protect your time the way you would protect anything precious, because it is. So let me give you 3 practical moves you can make starting this week. The first is to establish your interview budget before you ever enter a process. Decide in advance how much of your time and energy you're willing to spend on any single opportunity. Write it down if you need to. For me, that number is roughly 8 to 10 hours total, and that includes prep time. That includes the time I spend researching the company, practicing system design, all of it. If a company's process is going to exceed that budget, I need a very compelling reason to continue, or I need to walk away. The key here is that you make this decision when you're calm and clear-headed, not when you're in the middle of round 4 and you feel like you've already invested too much to quit. That's the sunk cost fallacy, and it will eat you alive. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. You think through the scenario in advance, so that when it arrives, you've already made your decision. You're not reacting, you're executing. The second move is to ask for the full process up front before you agree to anything. This is so simple and almost nobody does it. When a recruiter reaches out, before you say yes to that first phone screen, ask them to outline every single step of the interview process. How many rounds? What format? Is there a take-home? How long does the entire thing typically take from first call to offer? And ask about the compensation range in that same conversation. If they won't tell you, that tells you something. If the process is 6 rounds and a flight and they can't even give you a band, you now have information. And information is what lets you make a rational decision instead of an emotional one. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. But I'd add that we also suffer from a lack of information. Because when you don't know what you're walking into, You can't make a judgment at all. You're just reacting. Get the information, then decide. The third move, and this is the hardest one, is to practice saying no and meaning it. I'm not talking about being rude. I'm not talking about burning bridges or sending some self-righteous email about how their process is beneath you. I'm talking about a simple, professional, clear, "Thank you for considering me. After reviewing the interview process, I've decided this isn't the right fit for my time constraints right now. I wish you the best in your search." That's it. That's the whole thing. And I promise you, the world does not end when you send that email. What actually happens is something quiet and powerful. You feel a sense of self-respect that you might not have felt in a long time. Because here's what nobody tells you about knowing your worth. It's not a feeling. It's not something you arrive at after enough affirmations or enough meditation. Knowing your worth is a practice. It's a behavior. You know your worth because you act like you know your worth. You demonstrate it through the boundaries you set and the ones you enforce. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You cannot control how companies design their hiring processes. You cannot control whether the industry collectively decides that 6 rounds is reasonable, but you can control whether you participate. You can control what you say yes to. And every time you say no to a process that doesn't respect your time, you are building something inside yourself that no offer letter can give you. You're building the kind of self-trust that makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Because a developer who knows what they will and won't accept is a developer who negotiates from strength, who chooses roles that actually fit, who doesn't end up resentful and burned out 6 months into a job they took because they felt like they'd already invested too much in the process to walk away. I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying never do a rigorous interview. Some roles require depth. Some companies have genuinely thoughtful processes that are demanding but fair and respectful of your time. Those exist, and when you find them, you'll feel the difference immediately. What I'm saying is, stop treating every opportunity like it's the last one. Stop acting from scarcity. The market for skilled developers is real. Your skills have value. And any company worth working for will demonstrate that they value your time before they've even made you an offer. Because how a company treats you during the interview is the most honest preview you will ever get of how they'll treat you once you're inside. So this week, before you say yes to the next recruiter who slides into your LinkedIn DMs, pause. Ask for the full process. Check it against your budget. And if it doesn't add up, send that polite, professional no. Then close your laptop, go outside, and remember that you are not your interview performance. You are not the number of rounds you're willing to endure. You are a person with finite time and real skills, and you get to decide how both of those are spent. If this helped, subscribe. New video every week, just tools that actually work. Hit subscribe and I'll see you next week.